technology. Hello and welcome. That was the first piece of the recital. You've got it in your program, but I'm going to introduce these things as I go. I'm going to be giving a lecture recital on a project that I developed about 3 years ago, and it's called Lift, Solos for Horn by Black Composers. And the piece that you just heard is the first solo flight by David Eastmond, a Canadian composer out of Oakville, Ontario, and I was ably assisted by the wonderful Cameron. So, big round of applause for him. So, the Lift project was born out of, well, mostly frustration. I was sitting at home, it was a pandemic, I was working too much, I was feeling all the feelings. The murder of George Floyd had just happened. And I just got in my head about it, and I was like, oh, there's nothing I can do, I'm just a musician, And around about that time, my wonderful, capable, super smarty pants students were like, hey, Dr. M, is there anything written for horn that we could play that is by people that look like us? And I was like, so there are some wonderful horn solos by amazing African-American composers, but they're too hard. You're in high school. If I give that to you, that's going to wreck your face, or that's going to just be beyond you musically, or it's just going to be a hot mess express, and I don't want to do it. And they said, well, then what do we do? Because we're playing all this great music, and don't get us wrong, we love it, but it's not really like anything that's really communicating to us. We're having to fight really hard to do it, and I really respect them for doing that, for stepping outside of their culture and going and trying out something else and really doing it well. I said, okay, so I started thinking, and then this program started developing in my head, and I talked to a mentor of mine, and she's now at the University of New Hampshire, a wonderful tuba player named Joanna Ross-Person. And she's like, yes, you should do it, and you shouldn't just do 3 pieces, or you should do a whole anthology. How does 12 pieces sound? And I was like, that's crazy town. She's like, I'll give you money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess we're doing this. So the collection has ended up being 12 brand new compositions by Black composers, living composers. They are all alive. They range in age from 20-something to 80-something, from all over the US, Canada, and the UK. And it has been one of the great joys of my life to put this together. In addition, because we didn't want to leave people who had passed on out of the equation, there's also 6 transcriptions of historical Black composers. Some of those compositions are golden pieces that have been transcribed for horn, and some are other things. So if you take a look inside the collection, you've got a really good gamut of history, of styles, of all kinds of cool stuff. And I really wanted it to be a collection that's aimed at high school students, but maybe even a really hotshot middle school student. There are definitely things in there that are for the hotshot college student, as you'll see in just a minute. But it's to represent a range of abilities, not just the virtuoso player, not just the person who's standing up and playing a horn concerto with a Lyre Philharmonic and being like, cool, I got this. Because the rest of us, we have to learn technique, and we have to get comfortable playing it, and we have to do a bunch of other things before we get to that level. And sometimes we don't get there, and we should be able to play a really good rep all the way through. So, I come originally from Canada, and I make my home now just outside of Baltimore, Maryland, in Columbia, Maryland. And it was really important to me, and this is my bias showing, super important to me to have Canadian content in this project. So you just heard David Eastman's way. It still has a lot in there. I'm not dumbing it down for them. And one of the things that was very important to me about this collection was that, yes, I gave guidance about the pedagogy of this and about technique and things like that, but I really didn't control the ideas. I didn't think that was my job. I thought my job was to say, hey, I'm showing you a collection of pieces that I currently use with my students. Cool. These are the various levels. You pick a level that you would like to sort of aspire to. And it can't be more than 5 minutes long. And it's got to be relatively accessible range-wise. Like we can't go bananas high, bananas low. And most of the composers stuck to some version of that, and some more closely than others, and that's okay. Those pieces ended up in different spots in the collection. So there's been a lot of room for a lot of things, but I was very, very cognizant that I was not there to police ideas, and sometimes not rhythm, and not dumbing down rhythms for younger players, because we're only reading one note at a time. Come on. Okay, so that's sort of an introduction to the project, and the project took longer than, of course, I thought. We premiered the project probably about 2 to 3 years after I sort of thought it and got it going. But, you know, David was one of the first people to sign on, and he thought I wanted to have him write the whole thing, which would have been bad, actually. It would have been great. So that's the beginning of Lift for me. The big part of Lift was just bringing this representation. I was just getting really bored of this repertoire, and when I was teaching online, man, I was just hearing it all the time. The same Mozart, the same stuff out of the Mason Jones book, or first solos for the horn players. It's just enough. It's just enough. And so this has been a really wonderful joy to get going with this and to watch my students take it and play it all over the place at solo ensemble, for student recitals, for all kinds of things, at church, at synagogue, at who knows what. There really is a piece in here for almost every occasion too. So, very proud of that. So you're going to experience 5 more pieces from Lift I was going to say this morning, but it's really not this morning. And this next selection is a very interesting one. Jasmine was a late addition to the collection. She was one of the last composers to sign on. We had someone actually drop out. And I found out about her. She's a Morgan State grad. And if you know anything about Morgan State, it's an HBCU in Baltimore. She's a wonderful singer. She's a ridiculous composer, though. And especially for choir, solo voice, and opera. And it was very important to me, coming from a tradition where one of our big composers that we study is Mozart, and he is an opera composer. So it was super important that I found a few composers who really their forte was voice, so that we could also talk about singing through the horn from a very young age and have all kinds of cool stuff happen. And this is such a cute piece, I have to say. This is one of my favorite pieces to give out to my younger students, but it's also one of my very favorite pieces to give out to my kids that have braces, who might be experiencing embouchure stuff where they don't have much of a high register, so they can still play something jazzy and fun with contrast. And it's actually also dedicated to my students at Duke Ellington School for the Arts. And if you don't know what that is, Duke Ellington is a majority Black performing arts high school in downtown DC, actually in Georgetown. Phenomenal place, phenomenal students. And this is dedicated to them because the whole piece is about how she has a terrible time waking up. And you can hear the alarm clock and her heartbeat throughout the piece. And it really gets there's like this sense of agitation and then also like kind of buzzing around and trying to get everything done so you can get out the door. And it's definitely playful, definitely a little irreverent, but very much jazzy. And I'm so pleased that she could be a part of this collection. My conversations with her, and all of this was of course taking place over Zoom, like we just laughed until we cried. And it was just the best. She's so fun, so fun, and so amazing. Please watch out for that name. She is doing great things. She was at Chautauqua, writing operas for them and workshops. She will be at the Met. We will see her in lights. She's just phenomenal. Anyway, here we go. A little bit of Wake Me Up for your evening wake up, sorry, with Jasmine. I just want to give you all an A. You reacted correctly. Well done. You all get this. So, this is such an important picture to me. These are my students at Duke-Ellington at the time that this project was commissioned and at the time of its world premiere. And you'll see one of these things in the photo is not like the other, to be very blunt about it. And yeah. These are just tremendous, tremendous people. And if you were at my little talk yesterday about freelancing, this is Zay. Yeah, he's like 6'5". Like I'm not. That is the actual height difference. And he looks very stern in this picture, but he's just a ray of sunshine. So these are the kids that really did not let me off the hook. That were like, Dr. Armando loved Mozart, I really do, but what else have you got? It's like, And funnily enough, for school, with a name like Duke-Ellington, they didn't do a lot of music by black composers other than jazz. And I thought that was a little weird. So I needed to fix it, so I did. But these lovely people, of the crew that you're looking at, 3 have gone into music. One's at Peabody, one's at NYU, one's at Cal Arts. And that's performance, sorry. One has gone into education, and the other one started in music business, but then decided to go into regular finance and whatnot. So they're all like fully functioning adults in college or finished college, and I'm just so dang proud of each and every one of them. So yeah, good kids. If you find them, hire them for something. phase one. So now I've decided to do it. I've had my butt kicked into doing something about the state of this. And people ask me, they're like, how did you find these people? They're amazing. I was like, I stalked them. As you do. No, it's just a little light internet stalking. Like, really, if you start, literally Google Black composers, you will come up with some amazing people. And I had to be careful about it because I only had a very limited budget. I knew I was not going to be able to pay huge amounts of money for these compositions. So I was really looking for kind of young, up-and-coming composers, and that is mostly the case with a few exceptions. And I would even say since finding these people, since getting them into the collection, all of these people, their career is just, and I don't think I was a part of that. I hope I was, but I don't know. And I think it's just a testament to the fact that they all have really, really wonderful work ethic, really amazing talent, and that they've been putting themselves out there just doing the work. Like, it is a grind, and they're all really in it and doing really beautifully. And that's, if I am a small little chink in that, that's amazing. But it was actually very easy to find them, and I'm a little befuddled when people say, I can't find any good music by new composers. And I'm like, girl, you're not looking. You're not looking. So, like I said, most of the composers are sort of up and coming. David was not. He's been doing his own shtick for a long time, but he's not really written for solo long. But he understood it. Jazzy, definitely up and coming, early mid-20s, but totally taking the world by storm. Jeff Scott is kind of a legend in our world, and if you don't know about Jeff Scott, you should know about Jeff Scott in the world. He is fantabulous. Again, another conversation where I laughed until I cried. It was just so amazing. So we started talking. He was actually at Oberlin at the time. He's now at the University of Buffalo. And he wanted to do it for free, and I wouldn't let him. I was like, no, that feels real bad. So he did allow me to pay him for this composition, but I don't think I paid enough. This is such an interesting piece, and this is probably the hardest piece in the collection. And you're gonna hear why. It's wacky. It's also super darn scary. So if you're ever doing like a Halloween-themed recital, students, this is your piece. This is the moment. It's really scary. Mostly in 5/4, there's a few things, and he does like to alternate the fast and slow, so you have the spooky fast and the spooky slow. And actually, the scary part is not me, I don't think. It's you. Yeah, the piano part is so like, it's really freaky. There is a little bit of stop horn, so I would say like this is actually pretty accessible for college, but you need the range, you need the confidence, and you need to be able to count to 5. And for musicians, that's very difficult. We can only count to 4, 3 on a good day. You have to count to 5, all of your fingers, all of them. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and scare the pants off of you right now. Enjoy. Great piece though, holy cow. And he wanted to do it for free. Like, that's crazy town. Just crazy town. All right, so this is the other big question that people like to ask me. They're like, how the heck did you do this? How did you pay these people? Are you poor now? Did you take a second mortgage on your house? Did you? No, I didn't. Yes, I'm poor, but that's a different, that's just because I'm a musician. That has nothing to do with anything. So funding and fundraising. I have never in my life fundraised for any dang thing until this. And when I sat down and I was like, okay, for how little will you make this music for me? And I was told, and I sort of developed this budget, and I was like, okay, I need to raise a lot of money. The whole project ended up costing, I think, about $17,000, which is actually kind of a bargain when you think about it. It's less than $1,000 a piece. That being said, I did my transcriptions for free because I'm a terrible boss. That's actually why. But what ended up happening is we actually got some sort of key funders before we even, well, I say we, it was me, but like, I had some key funders sponsor some pieces in the collection, and that was amazing. So, for instance, like my dad gave me some money because he loves me, but also my first horn teacher, she had passed away in 2015, and I'll talk a little bit more about her later, but her husband wanted to sponsor a piece. And one of my best friends from when I lived in Germany wanted to sponsor transcription. And there were all these people that kind of came together to give it an oomph. And that was amazing. And so when we actually went and did the GoFundMe, actually it was an Indiegogo campaign, I could already say, hey, listen, these 7 people have already put money down. They believe in this. They know I'm not going to disappear to Bermuda with their many shekels, and we're going to do this. So will you join me? And the response from the Horn community and outside of the Horn community was actually overwhelming. I don't know very many people that when they fundraise, they actually over-fundraise. And it's not to toot my own horn, it's really the strength of this project. It's really that there was a need for this, there was a craving for this, there was a craving for something to stand in the breach, to act as repair, to contribute something generative to the musical conversation and the cultural conversation of the time without taking away from anything that had come before. And that's been so heartwarming. It really restored a lot of my faith in humanity that people could be so generous. And I remember receiving donations from people I hadn't heard from in years. I remember receiving donations from people I'd never heard of. One of the compositions by Shani Strickland is actually sponsored by this lovely gentleman from Berlin who just sent me $1,000 because that was important to him. And I'm not a crier, but oh my gosh, when I was doing this project, I was crying like every other day once the fundraising started because I just could not believe the generosity of the world. We're taught to believe that. We are taught to believe that you're on your own, you got to do it yourself, it's all on you. It's not all on you. People want to help, they want to be helpful, they want to be involved. And if you can explain why they should, I think that's a really powerful thing. So I could have done a whole class on this yesterday, separate from fundraising. I know that the dean had asked me to talk about commissioning, and I was like, oh, it's like a 10-week course. But the fundraising part was the part that I was most afraid of, and the part that was most life-affirming, most horn-affirming, most music-affirming, most art-affirming. And I'm so glad I did it, which is really weird, because I didn't go to school for that. So, one of our friends from across the pond, this is such an interesting composition. Althea Talbot-Howard hails from the UK, but she was born in Nigeria. She spent a considerable amount of time in Australia. She went to Cambridge. She has a fancy posh accent, or so I'm told. And what's really kind of interesting about her, it's more her ancestry. She is descended from the royal families of both Britain and Nigeria on either sides of her family. Dinner conversations must have been absolutely fascinating, right? So she has this very international perspective. She's very interested in themes of architecture and ancient tunes and forms, like really into Byzantine stuff. She's just a very cool, quirky lady, and is originally an oboe player, is now doing a lot of recorder, has written a lot of educational stuff for ABRSM in the UK, and she really has a good handle on what is important, like how to make a piece structurally and musically important and meaningful without making it unbelievably crazy hard to play. And she's just done a bang-up job. So this is her Dahomey Passacaglia, and it's inspired by the monument on the coast of Benin. Dahomey is the old name for Benin, and it's commonly called the Door of No Return. The piece is in 4 distinct sections. You'll hear that. And there's also a Passacaglia. So anybody remember their music history? You know what a Passacaglia is? Looking at you, students. They're like, no, don't look at me. So a Passacaglia has a ground bass. It basically means that the Pachelbel canon in D is essentially a Passacaglia. It's got this do, 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 like, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. Well, this has a similar idea. It has this same, the piano part is very accessible, by the way, for this, because it's basically the same thing over and over again with variations every time, but the harmonies are the same. And it comes from her interest in older art forms and bringing them into the modern era. So as we're playing, you're going to be watching a film. So I hope you can see the screen over here. And she put the film together.
So this piece was originally for oboe, and she wrote it in memory of John Lewis and commemorating his visit to the Door of No Return in Benin. There are some pictures of him in there, so you'll see him in there, which is very moving. I will warn you, this film is heavy. There's nothing graphic in it, but it's just heavy, because it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's hard to synthesize history of many hundreds of years into a 4.5-minute piece, but here we are, we're gonna try. So Althea, Talbot-Howard's Dahomey Passacaglia. that's a tough one for me to play. Not because it's technically hard, but because I know what's on the movie. I don't have to look at it anymore, but it's just a lot. It's a lot to know where these things come from and also how they've come into modern culture and into modern language, musical language, and how it's all kind of twisted together and turned together and made something amazing out of it. This actually comes from a greater suite that I'm hoping she'll adapt for horn somehow, but it's very sort of oboe-centric, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. So the next phase is phase 3, editing and the launch. I hate editing. Oh my gosh, I hate editing. Don't ever give me a score to proofread. I am the worst person in the world. I will drag my feet, I will kick and scream, I will have tantrums. I do not care what way the stems go or if that accent is like 2 points too close to the staff. I don't care. I don't care. Don't talk to me about it. I was very, very lucky. One of the big sponsors of this project and eventually the publisher of the project is Brian Dowdy, and he's with a group called Cimarron Press. And it's him, he's the group. Make it sound like it's like a multi-person operation. It's not. In fact, he doesn't even live at a house anymore. It's all digital. It's really amazing. I think he has a warehouse where he sends physical copies from. But he has been one of the biggest supporters of this project pretty much from the get-go. And again, when people keep offering you money to do something, it's probably a sign that you should do it. So he was an absolute stalwart when it came to taking these scores, engraving them in this beautiful book, making it so the page turns aren't super ridiculous, right? Like, they're as good as they probably can be. And just, I did have one score that came in that I'm going to play from, and it actually came in handwritten. And I was like, what century are we in? That's not a thing anymore. And he managed to take it and make it pretty, and we fixed most of the errors, we hope, and he was just a joy to work with. He took so much pressure off of me, because if I had self-published this thing, it would still be in my computer, it would not be out. And so that part ended up being both terrible and awful. I just discovered that I'm not an editor, and that's not my function in life, and I have other gifts. So the launch happened. Oops, not that yet. The launch happened at Duke Ellington School for the Arts on December 28th of 2023, so it's almost 3. It's going to go to preschool, guys. It's still a toddler program, but it was such a cool night, and we had some sort of terrible sound issues. Basically, the live stream sound for the music wasn't going through, but they could hear all the talking, and it was so super disappointing. But this was the format. Each one of my Duke Ellington students who you saw gave a world premiere that night. How cool is that? Can you imagine putting that on your resume when you're in high school? Oh my gosh. So they each gave a world premiere. Jody, who was standing at the back, I don't know if you remember, she had the locks. She actually gave 2 because she's kind of a rock star. And then I premiered ones in between. So they would play, I would play, they would play, I would play. And we had just an amazing night. And unfortunately, when I got out of there, because I was not getting any reception, that's when I found out we didn't have sound for the music. But everybody heard what I was talking about, and I was telling them that they were all a lovely bunch of coconuts. And we were also super duper fortunate. We had 4 of the composers come to DC for the premiere. So the coolest thing for me was watching these kids meet the composer of their piece. So not only are they giving a world premiere, they're getting to meet the person, and they stayed for the rehearsal, so they got feedback, and they got to be like, okay, cool, now I understand this better, and I'll know to do this, and I'll know, and one of the composers was actually there for one of the pieces that I was doing. She helped me immeasurably. And just, it was such a powerful experience to watch these young musicians learn from their elders, or really not so much elders, because they may be only 10 years older, but really kind of have a little community created around these pieces and around the world premiere. And it was just a fantastic, fantastic event. The next piece I'm going to play for you was not actually premiered at that event. It was premiered at the Southwest Horn Workshop in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And this is Stewart Goodyear. And Stewart and I are both Canadian. He actually went to school with some friends of mine in Toronto. I was up a little bit north in the burbs, but he went to St. Michael's Choir School in Toronto with some dear friends of mine. And Stewart is an interesting, weird guy, and I love him a lot. And he also was feeling this push to kind of get a little more creative, get a little bit more out of his comfort zone during the pandemic. And he is a concert pianist. If you've ever had the pleasure of seeing Stewart Goodyear play, it's awesome. He's great. He's really great. And during the pandemic, he also decided, I'm going to compose. He's a Beethoven specialist, so all of his pieces, I won't say they sound like Beethoven, they don't. But they have structure and they have function, much like Beethoven's, and then he pulls the structure apart a little bit, just like Beethoven did. So this piece that I'm going to play for you means a lot to both Stewart and I. He lost his mom about a year before this project happened, and I lost my mom last year. And so we've talked about this, and we've talked about how this was supposed to be kind of a tongue-in-cheek piece, and it is, but also it's for our moms. The piece is called Eulogy. It is inspired by a Dorothy Parker poem, and if you know your Dorothy Parker, you know it's a little bit wink and a nudge, but I think both of our moms were kind of like that. Powerful, amazing women, super smart, wonderful musicians, and just a little twinkle in their eye. So I hope you enjoy. Poor Cameron is going to play a lot of polyrhythms, so just let's say a prayer for his fingers. Welcome to the audience participation portion of the lecture recital. Lift phase 4, tell everybody you know, you are here. You are here. And because you are here, you care about music, you care about education, you care about maybe even horn. You care about the arts. And so what I would charge everybody here in this room is you think you can't do it, right? You think it's not going to matter. You think it's going to be meh. But you know what's the most precious thing to me about every donation I got for this project? Was the one I got from a friend for $5. I wept like a baby. I knew that person was having a rough time. I did not expect that person to contribute a penny, and that person found $5. And it's not the amount of money, it's never the money. It's really the thought and care. It was like that person reached through the internet and gave me the world's biggest bear hug and gave all of my students the world's biggest bear hug and said, this is what you should be doing, go do it and make it awesome. And it just meant more to me than I can possibly say. So if everybody in this room tells one other person, 2 other people, buys the book, supports each of the composers in this book by going to their website, buying their merch, buying their music, then we will have done a good thing tonight. And it's like, well, there's not like 50 million people here. No, there isn't. That's not the point. It all starts with one person. We know this. We don't like it because it puts a lot of onus on us as individuals to do something. But in a world where things can feel really, really big, it's nice to know that we can do something. It's nice to know that it doesn't have to be big and that it can have an impact. So that's my challenge to you. And if this is not your shindig, and that's okay, if you're listening, you're like, this is cool, but you know, I'd rather spend my time and money elsewhere. That's cool, but go do it. Don't just sit here. I always say to my students that I'm not super interested anymore in just performing for performance's sake. I'm not super interested anymore in music for music's sake. I'm really interested in where the needs of the community and my gifts come together, so that sliver in the middle of the Venn diagram. Because I think that beautiful nexus point is where the magic happens. It's where the community happens. And it's where we realize that we're really not alone, and that just the act of making music with other people, for other people, doing it for other people in service of the greater good is absolutely transformational. So that's my challenge. That's the you are here part. You landed on that square, sorry. That's just how it's gonna go. And yes, sorry, I'm from Canada, that's how we say it. Our final composer of the evening is the fantastic Mattea Wiliams. I'm so excited about this kid. And kid she is, because I don't think she's 30 yet, and if she is, I'd be highly surprised. As you can see, she's gorgeous, and she's from California, and this is her full-time job now. Since Lift, literally a month or 2 after it came out, she quit her day job. She makes all of her living composing, and she is a rock star. She's a pianist. She's done some woodwind stuff, but just she's sort of steeped in this really wonderful idea of making music from found objects, and she loves color. She is just fantabulous, and so much fun to talk to, so sweet, so kind, so thoughtful, and I'm really hoping, this is part of a larger suite, I'm hoping in the future that right now the 2 movements will expand to at least 5, and they'll each have their own color. So if you've heard of the Pantone color of the year, that's kind of what this is based off of. So one of the years was Living Coral Pink, and that's the first movement. The second movement is Skydiver Blue. I won't be playing that tonight because it's not a great concert ender, but it's really good. And it really, the piece is short and sweet. If it's a minute, I'd be surprised. It reflects her love of color, strong rhythm, lots of syncopation. Not much for Cameron to do, that, but he's very supportive. So that's good. And this is a super special piece to me because this is sponsored by Scott Irvine, who used to be the principal tuba of the Canadian Opera Company. in memory and honor of his wife, Joan Watson, who was my first teacher. She was associate principal of the Toronto Symphony. She was principal of the Canadian Opera Company. She was a towering stalwart figure in the Canadian horror world and just a wonderful human being on top of it, which is not always the case. You think it would be, but it's not. And she was so helpful and encouraging of me when I was younger. I didn't sort of study full-time with her until kind of a little bit later, but when I was in high school, she really taught me to think and to be more creative as a musician, not just as a horn player. And so I'm very indebted to her. I don't think I have a picture of her in this presentation. No, I do not. But she was just really wonderful. And when because he himself is a composer, and he went around and checked out my whole list, of course, because he had to dad me a little bit. And he did his own stalking of every single composer on the list. And when he came across Mattea's music, he was like, this is it. This is who I want to honor my wife with. And it's just such a special experience to play this, but it's also so joyful. So this is not like a Debbie Downer piece. This is just fireworks and all the beautiful things that you can think of thinking, especially in Florida. You actually have this color in nature here. We do not. So I hope you enjoy. It's really, really fun. If you have any questions, I will be hanging out somewhere. I'll be hanging out probably over there. Please come and talk to me. I would love to talk to you. I would absolutely love to talk to you. I would love to talk to you about any of these composers. I would love to talk to you about where you can get the collection. It's Black History Month. If you want to celebrate Black History Month by sending a collection to your favorite band director and or horn teacher or player, great idea. It's Valentine's Day. The last slide that I will put up is a slide of, well, it's just what the cover of the collection looks like. And you'll also see a QR code that you can scan with your fancy phone and use the camera to find it. And that should take you to a link tree that has a link where you can go to Cimarron Music and buy it. It's available in 2 formats, physical, real pretty, or you can print it yourself, still pretty, just not quite as pretty. The cover art was done by a Minneapolis graphic designer named Capricia Ambers, and she is so talented. She's since done lines for like Target and stuff like that. Like, she's really cool. I'm not nearly that cool. It's really lovely to have if you want to swing the physical version. But I hope that you have enjoyed this evening. I hope that you continue to enjoy Living Coral Pink, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming.